Right, so we try and do a little recap, a look at the episode. Please drop your questions. We'll try and get to them. I've got a few. And again, if I could load my laptop, it would be great. We'll get to them as quickly as we can. I actually really enjoyed this episode. One of my favorites so far, I would say. I thought both challenges were really cool, and I thought that the look at island life was great. There was a lot of stuff happening back at the beaches, and of course, there was so much drama, so much lying. It was one of the most powerful episodes that we've seen where people are playing hard. First, we start the episode with Dante, who has hid the flint. And if there is one storyline that continues to weave its way through this season, it's about Flint. And it's so fascinating how they are struggling so much with fire on this season, and Dante is just making that worse. And what's so interesting is that his idea of taking the flint and hiding it, and hats off to Dante, I thought it's not something I would do. It is very deceivious and very mischievous, but he is trying to cause stir with Rob, who seems very calm and collective, and his reliance on the fact that he is the one in charge of fire seems to be what he's playing to. So Dante, seeing that and wanting to cause a little bit of friction with Rob, I thought was really smart. The only downside is that the fire affects the whole tribe. So there you see Rocco and Meryl and people who are in Dante's alliance having to go on the hunt for the flint. And he certainly knows very well that the flint is lying in his bag. So I thought that whole sequence of Dante really getting to understand who Rob is and how he can manipulate Rob with a small thing of taking flint. My flint is actually lying somewhere here. Oh, it's on there. Let me get it. Something this small has caused so much drama within that tribe. Rob's whole identity on that tribe is related to Flint. And I find that whole thing really just quite interesting. How Dante saw the crack and manipulated it. So hats off to him for that. The reward challenge, donuts and coffee. Guys, you have no idea. Something sweet on Survivor is incredible. In fact, that jar of sweets that have been since Jeffrey was on Island of Secrets, the previous episode, is still going strong because it is overwhelming, the effect of sugar on your body. First, your energy level just immediately kick in, but then you have a sugar low. But the effect on your tongue after not having sugar is absolutely incredible. But one of the best things about that reward was the coffee and the cold milk. Anything that is a different temperature to what you've been drinking is absolutely incredible, whether it's really cold or really warm. So you can have coffee, and that taste of coffee, I mean, we were drinking it. We had a sweetener with our coffee, like a cremora kind of thing. It made the coffee completely so sweet. I never drink sugar in my coffee. I was just dying tasting the coffee that we had on our island when we won one of our challenges. So that reward was amazing. The greatest thing about that reward as well is that there were only 4 of them. Tanya, Jacques, Durao, and Sipe. So 4 of them got to share all of those donuts, whereas if it had gone to one of the other tribes, it would have been like 6 or 7 people eating from that whole thing of donuts. It would have been a lot more of a bit of a duel as to who's eating what. But those guys had a nice meal, a nice taste of donuts and coffee. So I really enjoyed that. And the one thing that I like about these challenges is that there's 3 tribes. So essentially there's 2 tribes that make it through and have some sort of advantage. And normally in a reward there is sort of a second place prize But this one there wasn't. But it did mean that 2 people from the losing tribe this time were going to send somebody to Islands of Secrets. Which Islands of Secrets is just this one big thing that I don't, it's so difficult to understand. And if you're in the game and you have this choice of who to send to Islands of Secrets, you don't know whether it's going to be a disadvantage or an advantage. Up until now, there's just been advantage after advantage. At first, it seemed like something you would want to do to somebody, like send them to in a disadvantage. But now there's just so many advantages, and what I keep finding so fascinating is that the former Samoa tribe are all still taking care of one another. And this time we see Nicole and Nathan. And Nathan, by the way, is just persona non grata at the moment on his tribe. Nobody seems to be Team Nathan at the moment. So them getting a bit of break from Nathan, and Nathan getting a bit of a rejuvenation, it seemed, with Nicole was a win for everybody, I think. But essentially, Samoa, the former Samoa tribe are just milking who they want to send to the Island of Secrets. They really are stamping their authority on that decision. And I find that very interesting, as the rest of the people just, at this point it seemed as if Sipe said, guys, Nathan and Nicole, and the rest of them went, sure. I was like, what? At what point are you going to push back and say, hold on, why don't we try and send 2 people who are not necessarily in an alliance? Because if you're trying to curry favor with former Samoa tribe, and this is what Sipe said was her thinking, that she wanted to play good into the good books of Samoa. But why wouldn't you play into the good books of maybe 2 different alliances? Great, send Nicole, but also send maybe Quibus. He's a swing vote at the moment. Or send somebody like Rocco or Letitia. Somebody who you want to carry favor. At the moment, Sipe already has a connection with those 2 people. So sending those 2 people to me seemed like you already are, aren't you, in an alliance? Anyway, so that is a very, very smart move on Sipe's part. Sipe is the front runner for me in terms of being the social game player that she is, in terms of her. It seemed at first as if she had dominated the other people, like she was too strong, too forthcoming in telling people what to do. But at the moment, she seems to have a lot of respect and trust with people. And at one point in the episode, Tanya says to Jacques, well, if you're going to play that idol, won't you check with Sipe first, because she seems to be the voice of reason. And I found that fascinating. So Sipe has gone from somebody who's at the bottom, somebody who really looked as if she had rubbed people up the wrong way by being too strong and too outspoken, has now kind of stamped her authority on this game, and people seem to be willing to work with her and trust her, but not seeing her as a threat. And every episode we can see how well spoken she is, how thoughtful she is at tribal council, how open and honest she plays things. We'll get to that part before they go to tribal council. But I just find her, for me, is my front runner. And yeah, I really am enjoying her character, and really I was a bit an advantage and a disadvantage. I got to see the first episode of the whole season before everybody else, when Sipe and Leanne were on the bottom of that alliance. And due to that information, when I chose my fantasy survivor team, I didn't pick Sipe, even though I thought she was a great character. I didn't think she would be around for too long because she was too strong. And now I'm kicking myself because I really wish I had taken her onto my Survivor Fantasy League, because now I'm just absolutely tanking. But anyway, let's just quickly go through that reward challenge. So the reward was, oh my gosh, I've just gone blank. The immunity was the one where they had to balance the immunity blocks up. What was the reward, guys? Help me out here. Anyway, we've got still two very big dominant tribes versus this little, oh, it was that catching the basket thing. I loved that challenge. What an awesome thing to play. But I don't know if any of you noticed how hot it was when they were doing that challenge. Ah, wow. It's gone from, again, I say this with all honesty, I would hate to be in Samoa with these contestants. They are going through the most. If it's not raining, it looks like it's absolutely piping hot. And when they start that challenge, you can see how warm it is. It's one where they launched the I don't know if it's a beanbag or something up, and the rest of the tribes just run around trying to catch this thing. Seemed like a lot of fun, actually. But the people who were running, you could see after about the third round, and they were racing to 5, and the third round, they were all like, they were guns blazing in the first few rounds, but then a lot slower and a little bit more strategic on how they were going to do it. Are they going to wait for the person to launch? Are they going to try and maybe separate from somebody who's marking them man to man and receive the beanbag that way? There's sort of a lot more strategic gameplay as we developed into that challenge. I really loved that one. I would have loved to have played on that one. And yeah, it was a really cool balance, actually, how the tribes, the lead of that game changed. But in the end, Lau Mei taking that one and winning that coffee and donuts, and honestly, that reward for them was incredible. Sweet coffee. I think Jacques mentioned it at some point where he said it tastes like home. And what I can tell you is that feeling of tasting something that reminds you of home takes you out of the game for a few minutes, because everything that you've been going through is constantly running through your brain, and your paranoia is so high, and you're constantly in the game. It feels like not a real reality for you, because it's so foreign to you. You've never been switched on like that all the time. And anytime somebody says something, anytime somebody walks away, every time somebody goes down to the water with somebody else or goes to the well to get water with somebody else, you are constantly thinking about what that means for your game. And so when you have, it sounds so bizarre, but when you have coffee and a donut and you are there sipping, it could be any Friday afternoon for you at work or at home on a Sunday morning. And that balance in those rewards is so vital. And what I love about the crew and cast and the producers of the show is they're trying to think of ways to take you out of the game by giving you something as simple as a donut and coffee, but also making sure you have to play the game. And so I love that. And as soon as they got the reward, my brain went into hyper mode, like I wonder if there's a clue in one of the donuts. But again, you see, my brain goes 100 miles a minute. But I really, really enjoyed that reward. And as I say that, it looked like they got a nice amount of donuts, a nice taste of donuts. And probably that coffee will last for a few days going forward. So they've got actually quite a nice reward in terms of the how long they can taste that great coffee or tea that they've got. So that's a really cool one going forward. But the question of what's going to happen next also comes into my mind. So if they do a tribe shuffle, do they get to take that with them into the new tribes? And do you have to share it? And if it's not a merge, guys. We're not at merge yet. We are at a point where they have to combine maybe into 2 tribes. And then who takes the coffee and who takes the tea and what happens then? Hey, I don't know. This game, man, I love it. Absolutely incredible. And we've covered the fire thing. One thing that I found interesting when they came back from that when they came back from the reward challenge, is how Rob, then they continue looking for the flint, and Rob, again, it shows how those former Solar tribe members are playing hard, because he came out and he was like, guys, I've lost the flint. It's all on me. I want you to vote me out if we lose at the next immunity challenge. And at first I was like, what is this guy doing? And then they do the confessional where he says, I still have an idol. And so if they vote for me, I'm going to play the idol. And then they'll lose because I won't go home. So that Rob and Nicole, Nathan, I'll get to Nathan. They seem to be playing really hard. I don't know if Stephanie is included in that really hard play, but Rob and Nicole are playing hard. Game on. And at one point, when they get back from the reward challenge, and Nicole is, after her dramatization of what happened on Island of Secrets, and I'll get to that as well, she has a moment with Rob where she says, she talks about the information that Nathan gave her. And I found it interesting because the words Meryl is playing the game really hard and it's sickening is what Nicole says. And I find that quite rich because Nicole is playing so hard and yet she finds it sickening that somebody like Meryl is playing the game equally as hard. I don't know. There's something about that. Anyway, let's talk about Island of Secrets and this combination of this hidden immunity idol, or this immunity idol that they get given that is shared. They open a box, they get this two pieces that make one. And again, I go back to my initial thoughts of, had they sent two different people from two different alliances, that whole sequence would have played out for me a lot better. It would have been a lot more interesting to see what would have happened if two people from two totally different alliances had gotten an immunity idol. That one would have been. But I will go that the drama that unfolded with Nicole and Nathan getting that immunity idol and having to then go back to the islands and lie. I just want to quickly... David asked me, why do I say Nicole is playing hard? Well, she seems... we saw it after when she came back to the island and turned on the waterworks and started lying like it was second nature to her. And I want to talk about lying in a moment, but I found that her ability to just turn it on and lie straight to the face of people, and not just a lie, but it was this act. It was tapping into people's emotion, the tears, the stories. And the problem with lying is, if the bigger the lie is, the harder it is to pull off. If you've got so many twists and turns to your story, people are going to see holes through it. So instead of coming back and saying, yeah, guys, we didn't get anything, we got a banana each to share or whatever it might be, they've come up with this really convoluted story about there being a choice between taking the clue or an idol and a tablet to phone home on, or a phone or whatever. And Nicole then said that Nathan took the phone call. She's a mom. Would he not let her take the phone call anyway? And then there was this idol that had two parts, but then Nicole didn't take the clue to the second part of the idol, and then people were poking holes in that, and then Nathan, alternatively on his beach, was just spilling all the details, weaving little lies through, and then you cross to people talking about Nathan and how much they can trust him. I found that whole thing just fascinating. And one of the problems with lying, it's Survivor, right? You do whatever you have to do. What I realized when I came home afterwards, and actually somebody had pointed it out during our season, that I actually didn't lie too much. In fact, I was almost incapable of lying because I was just so open and forthcoming with information and strategy and stuff. And everything seemed so logical to me. One of the big lessons I learned on Survivor is that actually logic is quite subjective. And the problem with lying is that you do it. On the game, everybody lies on Survivor. But I think there's scales to which you lie. And Nicole's lie went, for me, a little bit too far. When you start lying about sick people at home, and I don't even know if that's a lie, who knows? But when you start to push the boundaries of your lies, what happens then is it affects you when you get home. Because little lies about who you're going to vote for and why, and taking people into your confidence, those are almost like Survivor white lies. When you start talking about things at home, it almost progresses to something that lives outside of Survivor. And the problem that I saw on our season of Survivor was Bernard. Vanert is a pastor in real life. And when Vanert got home, he was questioned about being pastor. So he couldn't park who he was and just enter the game of Survivor and behave however he wanted to, because he still had to go, Survivor's finished, you close the doors and you move on with your life. And then people question what you did, how you acted, what you said on the island. And I have a huge question mark with Nicole and how she's now going to be perceived when she gets home. Well, she is home, but when the show's all done and wrapped up, one of the things that she's going to be remembered for most, if she doesn't win especially, is this lie that she told. And she's a Mrs. South Africa. That's going to be very difficult to deal with. And that's going to sit heavily on her mind. And it's a very difficult game to play, because you do the things in the game not thinking that 6-7 months later you're going to be watching this on TV and have to deal with the aftermath of the things that you do, the behavior that you do every day, the choices that you make on an island far, far away from your reality. And then you have to close that chapter and move on with your life at home. And the other thing is that you have to watch yourself do it on TV. And you have to watch the reaction on Twitter, on Facebook, on social media to those decisions that you make. And the other people that you made the decisions with. So the people that you just lied to and spun webs for are also watching it on TV for the first time. And that whole thing is a fascinating thing to live through. And it sticks with you forever. Because I remember saying words like, all's fair and you do whatever you need to do on Survivor. When I got to the end of the game, I realized that Survivor is a game. And you do have to do everything to win the game. But it's a game played by human beings. And you really shouldn't have to park your humanity to play the game. And that's the very, very difficult, fine line to walk. How far is too far? But when you're in it, you have no idea. You're hungry, you're tired. You're trying to make the best decisions for you to move on one more day. And yeah, those lies are difficult to keep straight. David asked a question. So as a castaway, real life and the game cannot be split. Your decision making in the games is affected by post-survivor life. 100%, but you have no idea when you're in it. You make the decisions, you make the calls, that sort of thing, but you don't know the impact that it's going to have on you at all. And that's very, very difficult to deal with. And that all unravels in the months after the game. And it's very, very difficult to deal with. So we'll see how it's gonna happen with these castaways at the moment. But you just have no idea when you're there. It's something so foreign. You've never played the game before, so you don't know what to expect. You know that it's about lying, cheating, deceiving, and playing people against one another, and you can't trust anybody, so nobody should trust you. But you're human beings at the end of the game, and it's very, very, very difficult. Loudmouth is here with the tea. Loudmouth says, I get the feeling Nathan doesn't really want to play, giving half an idol away and wanting to throw the challenge. Nathan is frustrating me so much. I don't know the guy. But I find his whole attitude to being there just frustrating, because he's like that kid who wants to quit when they can't win. And we had the same on our show. We had people who quit. We had Martinez who said, I'm going to walk off the game because I know I'm not going to win. That attitude drives me insane. And that's what Nathan looks like at the moment. He's got all these injuries and he's got all these excuses, and I'm just not in it, and he wants to throw challenges. I've seen it before. We're going to see it again. And it honestly, I cannot stand that behavior. You made it through to this show above thousands of other people, and then you get there and you're like, oh, well, it's actually really hard. Did you miss every other episode of Survivor where the people sit on the beach and cry and say it's the hardest thing they've ever done? Really? You thought you were tougher than that? No. Sorry. If you are a fan of this game, you've watched people who've played it 2 or 3 times. Somebody like Sandra Diaz-Twine sitting on a beach going, this is my second time, why am I doing this? This is the hardest thing I've ever done. You think you're tougher than Sandra? You think you're tougher than Boston Rob sitting on a beach blubbering? No, you're not. So go into the game anticipating that it's going to be hard. And then when you get there and it's hard, don't cry about it and want to quit. I'm not attacking him for crying, because everybody cries. Lord knows I cried almost every day. But I never wanted to quit the game because I didn't think I would win. I can't stand that attitude. And Nathan, everything about him right now has got that theme through it, that he just wants to be off the game, and it's frustrating, to say the least. So yeah. Anyway, let's move on to the anything else there that I've missed about the reward challenge, Islands of Secrets coming back, the drama. I love the fact that we saw Dante, aka Rudolph, Letitia, Meryl, and Rocco all saying that they didn't believe the story that they spun. Again, the bigger the lie, the harder it is to sell. The easier it is for people to poke holes in your story. So it's interesting to see how that is all panning out. And yeah, it's going to be very difficult to see if they can come back from that kind of thing. It's if you make merge tomorrow, right? And somebody, or let's say they merge. They're not going to merge in the next episode, but let's say they merge, right? And they all come together, and Nathan's people start comparing the story to Nicole's people. Then all of a sudden you're like, just kidding. And now your story is up in flames and you look like a tool and nobody can really trust you and you're only 2. It's going to be interesting to see what happens on that tribe. And also, I think I would love to see in this shake-up, they've sort of alluded to it, that it's coming. Is it going to be 2 tribes? They're not going to merge. There's still too many of them, right? I don't think that they can merge just yet. I think they're going to redo the tribes. I mean, we've got 3 in Laume. Kubus is 4, Jeffrey's 5, Mike is 6, Maba is 7, Rob is 8, Nicole is 9, Meryl 10, Letitia 11, Dante 12, Steffi 13, 14, 15. We've got 15 people. That's too many for merge. They definitely will have to split into 2 tribes. And if, for example, Nathan lands up on a tribe, and I'm going to put a prediction here. If Nathan lands up on a tribe by himself without Nicole or Rob or Steffi, he will quit. He will quit this game. 100%. Without a doubt in my mind. So he better hope that he gets somebody from his former amigos. Yeah. Otherwise, his game is going to be tanked. But it's going to be interesting to see if we split into 2, what happens with those 3 from Laume. But we'll get there in a minute. Let's go back to the... can we just for a moment chat about Jacques? Jacques is one of the smartest people on the game at the moment. And how does he make these decisions every day to essentially spill the beans? The man is incapable of keeping secrets. And I understand the desire to, don't bump the tripod rabbit, the desire to want to keep people from going to look for idols and stuff. But there is, just FYI guys, I also have this idol, boom, and this advantage, boom. All of his secrets are out in the open. It's going to be interesting to see how he manages in a tribe swap. If he doesn't have, this guy, he makes me laugh. Hey, also he's got the best line. Sun's out, bun's out, talking about his man bun. The man loves his hair, doesn't he? Oh, he's such a character. Well cast Afrikaans. He is an absolute hoot. But he's incapable of keeping secrets, it seems. And then we get to that immunity challenge, right? And we had a similar immunity challenge, except it was an individual immunity challenge when we played, and you had to hold the rope, and it was attached to a platform at the end, and you had to walk back, managing your rope and your blocks that they didn't fall, and go and get the next letter and go through. I loved this challenge where it became a team challenge, and the strategies involved in keeping that the stack of blocks up, because it seemed as if somebody could actually let go and go and get the block without it affecting the blocks stack. So I really enjoyed that dynamic. One of my favorite parts though was that Dante is just like, I'm just going to step off the beam. Nico says to him, get back on the beam. He's like, Nico, it's hot. He's like, well, you can stop and go put your shoes on, and they opt not to do that. I think there's a moment where Durao as well is burning his feet on the beam, and you're just like, oh, the shambles. But really, really cool challenge, and I love the team dynamic there. Not much drama happening on the bench where they sit people out. So I really like that. Unfortunately, Lau Mei coming back off the back of a reward challenge win, losing that one. And they were the tribe that really needed to avoid losing. And actually, I was really sad that the 4 of them went to tribal council, because I would have loved to have seen the tribe with Rocco on at the moment, which is the Taola tribe, where they've got 2-2-2. I would have loved to have seen that dynamic, as well as the Saula tribe getting rid of Nathan. Would they have all voted for Nathan, including Steffi, who is one of his allies? Corbus definitely would have flipped and voted for Nathan. So I think that the tribal council and having any of the other teams lose that immunity challenge would have been a little bit more interesting for me, and also a lot less sad, because we've just lost, spoiler alert if you don't know, one of the biggest characters on the show, Tanya. Love or hate her, she was really interesting to watch on TV, and I thought that between her and Sipei they had a really strong two. So I was really, really sad to see the back of Tanya, and I wasn't a huge fan. No, I was actually. I keep thinking to myself how difficult it would have been to be on the island with her, and the stories and all that sort of stuff. But I did find her very entertaining, and I was hoping that she would do well. But yeah, alas, we did not get to see more of Tanya. And I also loved the twosome between Tanya and Sipei. I thought that they had such a strong bond, and for somebody who, like Tanya, who didn't really even have any more options left, it was cool to see that Sipei gave her a lifeline, and that there was massive trust between the two. I was hoping they would be able to go further in the game, but alas, it is not to be. What else? I have noticed that Sipei has become one of the central characters on the show, and she's become kind of this like wise one that people go to, and she seems to be the leader. Jacques probably thinks he's the leader, but he isn't. When they come back from losing that challenge, and they were really close, I think that she says to the tribe, let's chat about where we are. Let's put everything out in the open, and how very Lau Mei of them to do that, because that's how they've kind of played things, open cards. I don't think, besides Felix going home in that huge blindside, she then says to everybody, let's chat, where's your head? And it seems Durao says he wants to work with Sipei and Jacques. Jacques says he wants to work with Durao and Sipei says it's Jacques and Durao. And her reasonings for me are quite interesting. She says, and Jacques, that when they go to merge, they need a strong unit that people are going to want to work with. And I somewhat agree with the idea that Tanya wouldn't have been somebody that a few people wouldn't work with, but not everybody. Some people don't even know her. So I thought I don't know. And I also thought that David asked me, do you think Tanya could have saved herself? I think Tanya did a valiant effort to save herself. She went to Sipe with this idea and Durao and said, let's vote Jacques off. If you thought Felix was a big blindside, Jacques will be even bigger. And to be honest with you, had that happened, that would have been the hugest play in Survivor in this season so far. Because had Jacques gone home and not played an idol for himself to save himself, he would have walked out with an idol and the advantage. The only problem is that he would walk out with an idol and an advantage. And right now, Sipe and Durao think that the idol and advantage plays to their benefit. But hats off to Tanya to go to them and say, guys, why are you wanting to vote me out? This is a better move. This is a stronger move. And she's playing endgame stuff. She's saying, Durao, can you beat Jacques at the end of this game for R1,000,000? You should vote him out. Same with Sipe. And I found her fight at the end really, really good gameplay, solid gameplay. I wondered to myself how much of that was real, how much consideration they did actually give to voting him out. Or whether that was just sort of to give us a bit of flair at the end. But it was a great idea. I think she did a lot to try and stay there. And I really wish it would have worked, because imagine that storyline, Tanya voting out Jacques. That would have been classic. But unfortunately, they didn't get that wrong. So I didn't think there was too much. Rabbit, don't do that. I didn't think that there was too much fireworks at Tribal Council, but it was kind of straightforward. But I did like Tanya saying, you know what, everybody says it to me. If losing is only not fighting, and then she went on to really put up a fight. And at one point, I thought, this chick is really selling this, and I'm scared that Jacques plays an idol and he saves himself and Tanya goes home anyway. But I mean, it would have been a great story had he had an idol flushed. But yeah, sad to see her go. But I find those three, is there a stronger alliance right now than Durao, Jacques and Sipe? Is Sipe actually in that alliance? Loudmouth says Tanya's nail was her answer when Nico asked, is it a clear vote for you? She said yes and no. And then she blurted out everything. Yeah, she was clawing her way in. She was trying to convince Durao and Sipe at Tribal Council that their decision should be Jacques. And I don't know how much of that is edited, but it seemed, Durao seemed very conflicted when he was going to vote. David said, should Tanya have gone for Sipe? I don't think so. Well, she could have. The only problem is that the idea of voting Tanya out is because Tanya has no connections to anybody on the other side. Remember that Jacques basically burnt all of his bridges. So he needs people who has friends on the other side. And Tanya has no friends. So had Tanya said to Jacques, let's vote out Sipe, then Tanya stays and Sipe goes. Jacques' connection to a lot of other people goes home too. Durao, I think, would have gone with whatever Jacques said. But I think Tanya's only other option would have been to maybe target Durao. But she saw the connection between Jacques and Durao. So I think planting the seed with Durao and Sipe that Jacques is somebody you need to keep an eye on, I think was a strong move. I don't think she could have. Jacques wouldn't have voted Sipe out because he needs that connection to the other tribe members. I mean, it's Durao, Jacques, and Sipe. That's Lemay. That's the whole tribe. And Durao has connections to Jeffrey, Mike, Maba. That is pretty strong. He's got Meryl and Dante, doesn't he? as I say, I apologize right now that I'm a little bit all over the place. My laptop that I normally work on is on the Blitz, and I've got a Mac that is about 100 years old and doesn't open tabs. So all the questions that were asked last week, I unfortunately can't get to them at the moment. But anyway, we move on. Quibus is flying solo right now. His whole other tribe is in Taolo, basically. So then Jeffrey, Mike, Maba are also a strong 3. Durao is part of them. So Jeffrey, Mike, Maba, Durao, that's 4. So if Tanya had gone for Durao, she's also trying to get rid of Jacques' only connection to 4 other people. Her trying to get out Sipe is connected to Nathan, Steffi, and Rob, and Nicole. That's also another 4. I don't think she had any option but to go for Jacques, because Jacques has nobody on the other tribes. So I thought her fight was worth it. There was a bit of talk about Rocco playing and being a threat, but I actually found it difficult to follow Nicole and all of the lies that she was spinning. But yeah, for me, a great episode. Lots of gameplay, lots of strategizing, lots of people trying to to make moves that will push them into a merge. But first, next week for me is going to be fascinating, because what's going to happen to Durao, Jacques, and Sipe? What's going to happen when they split this 15 into 2 tribes? And as they say, 2 tribes and 1 person goes to Islands of Honesty, I think David called it earlier. So it's going to be interesting to see now with the shuffle. Does Quibus get another lifeline? If Nathan doesn't have any of his buddies, he's going to quit. What happens with the Flint drama and Rob? And also, can we just talk about right now quickly, how many idols there are in this game? Jacques has 1. Nicole and Rob have Paul's 1. So that's 2. Now there's a third, 3, and an advantage. Am I missing anybody who has an idol? So there are 3 idols and an advantage right now in the game. Jacques has 1, Nicole has 1, and Rob, let's call that one Paul's 1. So that's 3. Plus the extra vote. It's going to be very, very interesting to see where this goes. Taryn, you've just written Meryl. Oh, yes, Meryl also has an idol. Thank you for that. Apologies. Yeah, so there's 4. Jacques, Meryl, Rob, and Nicole. 4 idols and an advantage. Oh. The next few episodes are going to be fire. And if those 4 idols make it to a merge with, say, 10 or 11 people, who the hell do you vote out? Hey, man, it's going to be fire. Ay. Anyway, I'm loving this season. I am surprised that everybody's doing so well health-wise. Let's keep an eye on that. It seems hot. If they have any challenges that last long, I think we're going to have some trouble. I was whispered and told, Rabbit, don't knock the tripod. I was told that this one is going to be hectic in terms of health and people staying healthy. So let's see what happens. And don't come at me if Nathan's going to get sick again. Anyway, any last questions, any last comments? I'm going to wrap it up. Apologies that I can't get to the questions that were asked last week. I did save them, but I can't find them at the moment. Is there anything else I missed? Also, hats off to Mr. Panaggio. Loudmouth says two of my people have idols, and the other 2 are also in my fantasy league. Get out of here. My fantasy league is tanked, guys. Tanked. Just hats off to Nico Panaggio as well for his absolute straight shooting at Tribal Council. I think the questions that he's asked have been really good And I also love it when he's just like, cut the crap. Do you guys know who you're voting for? Let's talk about it. I think he's playing the part really well. And again, to Valerie Groenewald and the whole crew and her art department and Henry and LaRue for putting the season together. The challenges have been epic. They've been so cool and well thought out. And Samoa again is playing a huge character in this season. David says, haha, the weather is rough. You should know. Anyway, that's it. Jacques lives to see another day. Sipe is still there. Durao is still there. Durao, guys, let's give Durao a hat tip right now, because he's been on the bottom for so long. He had nobody when Rosalie was voted out and has somehow managed to creep into an alliance that seems pretty solid. So that Lau Mei alliance is going to be interesting to see. Do they stay together? Do they not stay together? Has those bonds that they formed with those three solid enough to carry them through? If they can do that, that'll be great. If Sipe can bring into her confidence Nathan, Nicole, Rob, and slowly get rid of them while maintaining the three, she will be the queen and she will be my winner pick. If she can keep her game and stay on the right side of luck, because people don't like to admit it, but luck plays a huge part in this game. So if she can stay lucky, she can get far in this game. And I also put it on my Instagram during the week and Dave, hats off to you guys. I see that there is a woman in the opening sequence for the first time ever carrying the torch. I don't know which of the crew that was, or if it was one of the contestants. I have my theory, but hats off to you guys for including a woman in the opening sequence. Anything else before we wrap up? Thank you guys for tuning in again. It's been great. If you missed anything, if you tuned in halfway, I'll put it on my YouTube channel. And that's it. We will have another viewing on Thursday. I get together with friends and family, and we watch it, and it's a fantastic evening. And if you don't have plans on Thursdays, you should get some. It's fun. And we will catch up again on Sunday. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll chat soon. Bye.